Independent Thinking Online Children's Book Festival for 2021. I say for 2021, we didn't do it in 2020. Who knows if we'll do it in 2022? We'll see how it goes. But it is just this amazing opportunity this year for me to meet the most wonderful children's authors. They might have written books for children, they might have written books about children, they've written books for parents with so much relevance for schools. We're doing this in partnership with TV's parent coach, Sue Atkins, and the Sue Atkins Book Club. And it's through her that I get to meet all these amazing people with their stories. And talking of amazing stories, what I find is that so many of these stories are stories within stories. That yes, it's a nice, really interesting storybook for children that they enjoy reading and having been read to and seeing the pictures, but there's something going on underneath as well, and none more so than in this amazing little book, Hank the Hungry Monster by Julie Derrick. And I'm joined now by Julie from her home in the loveliest part of the country in South Wales. So Julie, hi, welcome. And if you can just tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do, how you got to the point of writing a book called Hank the Hungry Monster and what it's all about, please.
Hi, I live in Christchurch in Bridgend, which is a lovely part of the world because I love working from the beach. I didn't plan on ever publishing a children's book, although I did used to read stories a lot to my children. We used to make up our own stories. People used to say to me, oh, you should publish your stories, but I thought, no, it's not going to happen for me. I was a full-time mum, which I loved, and then I helped on the family business, which is a building company. And then about 18 months ago, the building company had some financial struggles. And I thought, I think it's time now to create an additional income because customers weren't paying big bills into that company. So I thought, what can I do that's quite low cost and fun? So I started an affiliate marketing business, which ironically was selling somebody else's books, promoting memory techniques. And I finally raised the funds to publish my book, Hank the Hungry Monster, as you just shown. Hank the Hungry Monster was born early one morning, out of the blue. I wrote in about half an hour after my child was diagnosed with severe OCD and we had a 4-year battle. But it just sat on my computer for probably over 2 years until last year, pandemic hit. I raised the funds through affiliate marketing to publish the book because obviously even to get the illustrations done is quite a hefty bill. And my husband said, I think it's now time to get this book published to help others, particularly during the pandemic. I was also getting lots of messages from parents as young as 5 and 6 years old, describing to me what their children were already doing, the rituals they were doing during the pandemic. And I thought, yeah, I really do need to reach out to those people. And I also want to reach out to schools as well, because whilst the schools were really, really good to my daughter, there were a few teachers who didn't understand OCD and actually made the problem a lot worse, not just for her, but for the whole family. Because what we did, each of us got recruited into this monster and we were doing all his commands. So the more rituals she did to neutralise herself after coming home from school, the more we all had to do to keep our house safe, if you like.
Yes,
so
go on.
Really in the book is to try and raise awareness to OCD for parents and for teachers, to how to spot early signs of it before it takes control. Because like I said, we waited a long time for CAMHS to get on board, over a year. And in that time, my husband and I were doing all the wrong things. We were feeding this hungry monster and it was getting more and more controlling. So I want to raise awareness to the early signs so that nobody gets into the grips of this monster. I also teach within the book how to help your child to speak up to these intrusive thoughts. But there's also a message for parents as well about how to be kind and how words and actions can affect other children. Because my child became severely ill, not for something that happened to her, but an incident that happened to a close friend, and it made her paranoid that she would be the next target of this mean person. So I just also want to reach out to parents that if they can identify any mean behaviour starting in their child, please nip it in the bud, because whilst they might be able to just brush it off, and most of the other children in that group will brush it off, there will be that individual child with mental health tendencies who lack self-esteem like my daughter, and it can become a crippling, really serious illness.
Wow. Okay. And there is a happy ending. It's probably worth it. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Your daughter's okay. So just tell us where your daughter is, how things are at the moment.
Well, ironically, just after I published the book, my daughter freed herself of the last clutches of OCD. And this year she's enjoying a normal summer and a normal life with her friends where there's no rituals taking place. we're all living a free, normal life, because it affected and impacted on my younger daughter as well, who's only 16 months younger. And she was also going to the Monsters commands, because she was helping her sister in every way she can, because you just want to do something to help your sister feel better. But ironically, we were all making it worse. But yeah, there is a good end to the story, because she's now leading a pretty normal life.
All right. No, that's good to know that there is hope. There's a challenge that's been hard, but that there is hope. And I think from previous conversation we had that CAMHS and then a unit within CAMHS, and I know CAMHS get a lot of stick, mainly because they're so underfunded, it's so difficult to get hold of them. I think you had to wait a year or so, but just so how did CAMHS help? And then you talked about a unit within CAMHS that were like specialised in this?
Yes, CAMHS came on board, and that was at the time when she became really, really ill. I said, I can't go into too many details. I wish I could, because my daughter didn't even want me to publish the book, because she kept a lot of her battle private. But she was very, very ill. And they came on board and explained to us that we were feeding this monster. And that's where actually the title came from, because they said, if you can just imagine, OCD is like a greedy monster, they called it, but the publisher felt the hungry was a softer word for children. And they said, the more you feed it, the more it will demand. So then we got on board with painstakingly slow therapy, over 4 years. And you had to do it tiny step by tiny step, because like any other mental health illness, you have to be very, very careful how you address it. Because if you push it too much to what the child wants, it can be quite dangerous. So we were so grateful to have them on board, but we were actually under a team called KIT, and they're a specialised team within CAMHS, and they did the most amazing work, not just for our daughter, but the family as a whole. And they really got us through it, because this will test even the stronger relationships out there. And, you know, I'm sort of the good cop. My husband is more good cop, but he knew he had to be the bad cop, because you've got to stand up to this monster. But I'm a mum, I'm a typical Welsh mum, I'm very nurturing, and I'll do whatever my child wants. And so sadly, that can be a clash as well between a partnership. So it puts a lot of strain on the family. I said we couldn't have anybody to the home, because obviously we didn't want to risk the house becoming contaminated. And yeah, it was a hard battle, but we were so grateful to have them on board. That's why I decided to publish a book, and I'm actually donating 50% of any profits made from the book to them, so they can help even more children.
Yeah, no, that's a nice touch. So let's explore a little bit before we go into the book and the monster idea. And the monster, it resonated with me. A good friend of mine, his daughter suffered for a while badly with anorexia, and she expressed it in a similar sort of way, that there was this monster, and the monster needed the food or didn't want the food, and she was at the control of the monster. So it resonated but personally there. But let's just understand OCD a little bit, because a lot of people will just, it's a bit of a throwaway comment, you know, oh yeah, I'm a bit OCD, I do this, I do that, or they'll remember, I don't know, David Beckham headline OCD because he washes his hands a lot, or it's a bit of a joke because somebody has to check the front door 5 times before they can walk down the drive. What does it stand for, OCD? What do we know about it? Where does it come from? Just explain that a little bit more, and also the fact that it can get so devastating. It goes beyond just I'm a bit OCD. Just explain that a little bit more, please.
Right, well, it's ironic actually, and you've mentioned anorexia, because unfortunately it controls eating as well. So they are closely related. It will then take over control of eating as well. I think there's a brilliant hashtag on social media that a lot of us OCD people who are raising awareness often say, OCD is not an adjective. You cannot just feel a little bit OCD. You can have some perfectionist traits which are similar, but real OCD is you will not leave the house, or you might not come back into the house unless you've carried out a set of rituals. Because the old bit is obsessions, they're bad thoughts. And most children at some point or another will have bad thoughts, but most children will just release them and they'll just carry on with normal life. Whereas a person with OCD, like my daughter, it's the thoughts take over. And it's like, the way I describe it, it's like getting stuck on a wheel. They can't release the thought, it's going round and around. And then come the rituals then. It was described perfectly to us when they said it's like a sort of neutralising, something they have to do to neutralise the thought. And of course, they keep thinking, oh, right, I feel safe now, or keep others safe. But the more you do it, the more it will demand, and the demands get bigger and bigger and bigger. And until the end, as I say, you're all carrying out these rituals. And then the disorder bit is just where they can't release the thought, where it's going round and round like on a wheel. And as I say, it just doesn't it doesn't release itself like other children, which can often leave them trapped and isolated. because they just don't want to go out because the ensuing rituals, they're just not worth the effort. Because ironically, my daughter said the other day, I said, no, you don't sleep so much now in the day. She said, my thoughts were so exhausting because they were permanently there, that she said, that's why I had to sleep a lot of the day. And now she's on fun, and I never see her, she's always out.
That's going to have implications for school life as well, isn't it? That if you're thinking exhausts you so much, and then you have to go into a maths lesson or a history lesson or a French lesson, it's going to have an impact. How have schools reacted? How have schools helped? What do you wish schools had known more about with regard to OCD?
Right, on the whole, the schools, particularly the year leaders, were fantastic. They gave us any help or support we needed. If she needed to go into school after hours to carry out some therapy with a nurse, they allowed us to do it. I had many meetings with them, and they were really great. But there were a few isolated teachers, and I'm not apportioning blame, because OCD, you have to live it to understand it. But throwaway remarks like, oh, you haven't taken your art folder home again. Or a maths teacher screaming, why do you need to leave your books in the cupboard? There can sometimes be reasons why, and attendance being low. My daughter's attendance was very low. They didn't imagine I'd even pass in her GCSEs. But there are some reasons why. So if you can see that a child is avoiding a desk or avoiding a person or avoiding taking stuff home from school, just take that second to think there could be a reason why. But as I say, on the whole, I've got to say, and had those teachers known, I'm sure they wouldn't have carried out that action. But I want to raise awareness, because don't judge a person because they got low attendance, and don't presume they're not going to pass their exams either. Because again, another positive this story, not meaning to brag, but my daughter, the biology teacher, on the rare occasion which she went into school, said to me he's putting in for foundation for GCSE, because obviously, in fairness to him, he didn't know how well she was going to achieve because she hadn't been in school. And I begged him, I said, even if we've got to pay, will you put it in for the GCSE? Because this was a big reality check for my daughter, because she doesn't do the foundation phase. She's always, again, as part of being OCD, you're normally a high achiever. And she said, please put me in for it. And she had full marks on most of her science exams. So again, don't write them off just because there's low school attendance. Just do it with them in the home like I did. There are ways around it. You've just got to sometimes think outside the box. I've lost count how many times I've sat by the beach doing a revision with her. There are always ways. Yeah.
So what sorts of things could a teacher be looking for? What are the warning signs that the teacher might see? I mean, you talked about leaving the books there or avoiding a certain table. Is there anything else in terms of their actions or their attitude or their language?
Particularly now during pandemic, overuse of hand sanitizer, maybe needing to spray a surface before they sit down, needing to be excused a lot to go to the toilet. They could be carrying out some ritual. They could be continually washing their hands. Or they could, some people have thoughts, with OCD thoughts, and they might be going away for some quiet time. They might need some time to combat their thoughts. Low school attendance is a big clue as well. Covering themselves up, because of the times we've had problems. I've had to literally leave shopping or leave my friends for lunch to pick it up from school because they've insisted on them maybe having bare arms for photographs. Doesn't sound a big deal, but for a child not just with OCD, it can be a child with eating disorders. Somebody could be self-harming. Please don't put them under that sort of pressure, because the OCD when she got home then was just, she wasn't self-harming, by the way, but I'm just saying I know of friends of hers who were. And again, for them, it created massive panic, and it just makes then the illness so much worse.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's useful. That's useful to know. And like you say, the raising awareness is so important. Teachers want to do the right thing, but it's just hard to know what it is when they've got 30 kids and so much pressure on them. So coming to the book then, and I'm going to ask you to read an extract from the book. So it's a hungry monster, not greedy monster, but it's a hungry monster. So how did you read a bit from the book and tell us a little bit about how the book works and how the book does raise awareness and how schools and parents are using it.
Right, okay. So you've showed the cover, so I'll just start at the beginning. So Hank is settling into his new home. I think I'm going to be very happy here, he chuckles to himself. Hank is a very hungry monster who never gets full. But Hank isn't hungry for food, he's hungry for power. So you've got Hank on this. I've got a wonderful illustrator, he's brilliant. Hank loves to play games, but only games that he can win, and he wins a lot. Time for a new game, he thinks. He starts to fiddle with some controls, O, C, D, and replay. Wonderful. They all seem to be working perfectly. Chuckles. Time for some fun. And then we meet the other character in the story, Annabelle. So I'll just read a little bit from this page because this is with the kind behaviour. Annabelle is a bubbly little girl who loves to play with her friends. Everyone loves Annabelle. Everyone, that is, except Hattie. Hattie is her friend too, but Hattie sometimes makes her sad. Annabelle often catches her whispering and then she stops and giggles as Annabelle approaches. And then, as I say, we go on then to see the horror on Annabelle's face, and that's when her problems then begin, and this monster starts telling her to do certain things to make herself safe. And at the end of the story then, that she confides in a teacher, because that's the other message within the story. Please confide in somebody. Get your child to confide in somebody. If they can't confide in you, confide in somebody they can trust, a close friend or a teacher. And at the end, she finds a lovely teacher, Miss Carmen, and she helps her then to speak up to the intrusive thoughts. So there is a nice happy ending at the end of all my books, because I'm publishing some more in the future. So
yeah, it is this happy ending, like, you know, in the real life with your daughter, you know, with her A grades at A level and, you know, and at university, but in the book as well. And it's strong. I know it's sort of simplified for the book, but this idea of talking about it, letting it out, not being ashamed, being aware that this is who I am, but let's have a conversation about it, and that conversation can help understand it a little bit better. And if you start to understand it and I can give it a name, then it helps you, or an entity, then it helps you understand it a little bit more. That comes through in the book. You use, it's quite clever, you use the O and the C and the D as computer commands. So O is order. Yeah. What's the C?
Yeah. C, I think, was command, was an issue, commands.
Command. You must wash your hands 3 times or whatever it is. And what was D? I can't remember now. What was D?
He delivered instructions, wasn't it? And then he was repeating them and replaying.
And then repeat. So this, yeah, no, I thought that was really clever. And you've got, what other books? So what else are you working on then?
I'm hoping to publish another one the end of August. Is with my illustrator at the moment, and I'm going to introduce more characters, and they're going to be up against Hank. He's going to be issuing commands, but I'm going to try and cover some other aspects of OCD as well, not just ones of washing hands. And this new monster, I won't give too much away because I'm going to build up a bit of suspense on my social media accounts. But she's going to combat Hank, and obviously she likes to win as well. So she comes along, and it's basically going to replace the intrusive thoughts with nicer thoughts.
Very good, very good. The battle for the mind, battle for the thoughts.
Hank versus
Yes. So people want to hear more about or read the book. I mean, we've done the deal with the Roving Bookshop, so they can access, and that's going to be on the website, and I'll put a little link at the bottom there to the Roving Bookshop so they can access it that way. How can they find out more about you and about your work, and how can they contact you via social media and the likes?
Right, okay. I tend to hang out more on Facebook. I've got a Facebook page, which is the Mind Monsters. LinkedIn, I'm on a lot, and I'm just Julie Stoke Derrick. Instagram, I hang out a lot, and I'm Julie Derrick 55A. I am also on Twitter. I'm not on there as often as I should, but I've only got so many hours in a day, unfortunately, but I will try and be more active on there. That's Julie Derrick 17, because I also blog as well on copywhatiuse.com, and I also have a YouTube channel. Well, I have 2 actually, but the one that focuses on mental health. So I haven't got the link for that one because it's such a long one at the moment, because you've got to have so many subscribers before it'll shorten the link for you. So, but all the details are on my different social media sites. So
lots of ways of getting hold of you. And your blog, what's it called? Say what I use, do what I use. What's it called?
Copywhatiuse.com.
Why is it called that?
Because I was using memory techniques, because when I was helping my children, that's how it started. I was helping my children with revision, particularly my younger one, and she didn't like revision at all. So I thought, I'm sort of older in my years now, and I thought, well, how can I sort of ram this information? It's a long time since I took my A-levels and O-levels, as they were then. And I thought, how can I ram this information? And I'd come across some memory techniques from a memory champion over 10 years ago. So I thought, right, I wanted to raise some funds as well. I had the book in the house, and by coincidence, I could use it as an affiliate product. So that's how I raised the funds. I started with that. And then I also started blogging about OCD. And now I'm introducing books on there as well. So yeah, it's just trying to take the stress out of, bringing up children, really, with the revision and with the OCD.
Yeah. No, it sounds like it's been excessively stressful, but it sounds like you've survived.
Yes.
And all the stronger for it. And good luck to your daughter in all her future plans.
Thank you.
Dealing with the monster, and good luck with all your plans as well. Thank you for being part of the book festival.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.